All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Manhattan Community Board 3's Executive Committee meeting for the month of May 2022. I know it's kind of nice outside, and at least it's a better afternoon than it was morning. So we're going to start with attendance. So Larissa, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, Paul Rango,
Yes, here.
Eric Diaz.
Yes.
Okay, Tariq Darrell,
Yes.
Larissa Shaberg, present. Laura Lugo, she's here. Herman Hewitt, still here, right?
He was.
I'll come back to Herman.
I promoted him, but now he's gone. Oh, now he's here.
Oh, there he's back again. Okay. Hi, Herman. Okay, Herman Hewitt. Present.
Hello.
Hi, Herman. Okay, Mei Lee,
Yes.
Jackie Wong. He is present. Jackie Wong. Okay, Michelle Cooper Smith.
Present.
Trevor Holland.
Yes.
And David Crane is absent. Okay,
Jackie, can you say? Can you
did
call
hear
out
me?
Jackie again?
I'm sorry,
Can you call out Jackie again? I don't think he's.
Jackie Wong.
Here.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Paul. Larissa, thank you.
All right, the minutes were sent out a couple weeks ago. For April, is there any amendments to the minutes from April 2022? Hearing none, the minutes are approved for April of 2022 Executive Committee meeting. All right, good. Once again, good evening, everyone. It's been a interesting month of May to start. I'm going to go through a couple of things, and please bear with me. I know I like to kind of move right along, but this is going to be a little bit of a long one tonight, at least on my end in my report. I'll try to chop through it as quickly as possible. That's why I'm going to have to sip of water. And here we go. All right, so I just want to address attendance. The attendance letters went out at the beginning of May to the members that were chosen to get or selected to get attendance letters due to them falling below the stated number. Unfortunately, the second vice chair had a series of unfortunate events that led to me sending out those letters. So hopefully we can, get those things out and rectify the young people that's still in school, rectify our members' attendance issues. So we are done there, and everything has been sent out. I'm just going to go talk a little bit about Borough Board this morning. Later on in the agenda, we are actually going to talk about the hybrid plan and going for meetings going forward. There's a resolution I hope all of you had a chance to read. I will talk more about that at that point, but it was a big point of discussion this morning at Borough Board. There's been a lot of confusion on the law, lack of clarity on what is needed out of us, what is needed out of boards in this hybrid format going forward. I believe the executive order has been extended out to June 14th. Even then, we still have to, if we make a decision on hybrid meetings, we have to get that resolution out tonight and for full board on Tuesday night if we go that far. But we'll get to that when I address it. But there was a lot of questions. There was just all the boards have pretty much the same questions, like how are we going to do this? What's quorum going to look like? What's going to happen when somebody runs out or something like that? It was a lot of kind of just here and there stuff. All right. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later. So that was a big point of discussion this morning at Borough Board. Another point of discussion was also appointments. So we've lost several members due to either not reapplying or not being reappointed. We are grateful to their service to the board. It's been a very interesting process. I got a chance to see it for the first time I got a chance to see it for the first time as chair and how it's been playing out. So we are we're moving forward on it because they did send us the new appointees, and the new appointees will be invited to full board on Tuesday night. Some of the new appointees have been given, in fact, no, all the new appointees have been given the calendar for this month. Some of them joined other meetings this week. I believe the meetings this week were SLA and land use. So I believe some of them had a chance to look at those committee meetings. So that's where we're at there. So I am grateful to those who served here in the past and no longer on the board. And I'm grateful to all the new members and getting the chance to know them. We just got their resumes and applications probably about 2 hours ago. We haven't even gotten their full list of the roster. I've put a makeshift list together of who's in and who's out, and it comes up to 49 names. So we're still missing one. So to answer that question, we do have new members. We know who's no longer on the board. Everything's been made clear to us by the president's office. I know there's been some ambiguity and some lack of clarity that they may have sent out some press releases with mistakes on it. We understand that. We've asked them to rectify that and clear up any issues with us as well, about any members who may or may not know whether or not they were appointed or not. There's a lot of questions around that. They did clear up those answers for us. That being said, there was just a lot of questions, and hopefully we're going to move forward with it, and they're probably going to need to appoint another member, and I don't know if that's something they're working on. Apparently a lot of the boards are having issues. I think there was one board that there was 11 people not reappointed, and they were lots of hurt feelings, as one of the board chairs said. It was a rough morning hearing a lot of the other board chairs on what they went through. For us as a board, there was only one person not actually reappointed due to for whatever reason, no specific reason, but just wasn't reappointed, but did try to reapply and wasn't reappointed. So I believe most of the reapplicants that reapplied for CB3 were brought back, except for one. That being said, I'm a little concerned. I'm going to move next into the tenor of meetings over these past couple of weeks, several weeks, 6-7 weeks, and the way things have been looking. I don't necessarily join every meeting, but I do watch them on YouTube afterwards. And I always ask if any committee chair needs me to come on, please let me know to answer any questions or come on and hear what's happening. So I usually do that. I think a lot of the committee meetings these past couple of weeks, the tenor has been quite aggressive, quite, for me, disappointing. I've prided myself on kind of like this efficiency angle, and I want that to continue to happen with all the committee chairs and the committee meetings. But there's been a lot of negativity, a lot of just bad vibes, for lack of a better phrase, throughout these meetings. I know there's a lot of issues in the community that cause a lot of these feelings to come out. But I think that as chairs, as committee chairs, we have a responsibility to guide the meeting the way it needs to be guided and to keep it on track. I know after the fact, when you get to watch the YouTubes and see what happened, you get to figure out and play Monday morning quarterback. During the meeting, I know it gets chaotic, and especially when you're on Zoom, you're trying to manage the attendees list and the panelists, and who's on, who's not on, who's taking themselves off mute, who's on camera, who's not on camera, who can speak, who can share their screen. There's a lot of moving parts. But this is why we're supposed to have a Zoom facilitator. This is why you should have somebody kind of just controlling all that. That way, as a chair, you need to kind of just guide the meeting the way you need to guide it and keep it efficient. Like, I understand meetings can go 3 hours, that's fine. as long as it's efficient and you're getting to the point and getting to the topics that you need to get to, and you're addressing the issues that you need to address. But at the same time, it's just really about just keeping it orderly. And sometimes it can get out of hand. And I get that can be tough. I got the little preview of that when we did the open restaurants thing back in July when it was face to face, and it was just kind of all over the place. And it was just trying to keep it orderly. And I know on Zoom it's more difficult, but we do need to do a better job of kind of keeping that in line. Yeah, so that's really it on that end. Just shifting focus on some bigger plans that I've had. I know I've been talking a lot about my committee plans that I want to share with all of you. I've been thinking about a proposal of, this will go formally for next month, but to give you a little preview tonight of primary and secondary committees. I will talk to the committee chairs soon as individuals. I know I've spoken to some of you already. Some of you I have not, but I do want to get some buy-in and get your feedback and thoughts on a lot of this. Primary committees or something, or would be similar to what we currently have. And it's kind of, and the secondary committees would be doing away with the subcommittee structure overall. So that would be us looking at a new way of seeing which committees we need to call upon when needed versus the committees that need to meet every month, who have agenda items every month. Transportation, human services, land use, those are primary committees. What can be a secondary committee? Something like landmarks that does not meet as often. So those are the ideas I have floating in my head. I do need to, sorry, my emails are going off, apologize. I do need to speak to all the committee chairs individually about some of those thoughts, about if we create potentially new committees that may fall under a secondary banner, who would potentially become the chair of said committee, and something like that. And I just to start on this, secondary committees won't be treated as a subcommittee. Subcommittees had to report to a what I would call now a primary committee. This would be solely these secondary committees would report to the executive committee, and the secondary committee chairs will not be executive committee members. So that's where that would go. Just like, but they would be invited to any executive committee meeting if they had a meeting that month or needed to come on, but they wouldn't be a specific member of the executive committee. So that's how that would look. I will have something formally written out and drafted up, because we would have to have a bylaws committee meeting prior to the June meeting to make this happen. And the reason why I've waited so long is because I've wanted the new members to be in place for when it's time to select committees, and this is where you can go and what you think would be best for you, and where I would eventually appoint someone. So yeah, that's a lot that I've kind of gone through. I'll take any questions you have on anything right now. I got a thumbs up. I guess I was very clear. I got 2 thumbs up. Okay, all right. That, and then, like I said, we'll get to the Zoom hybrid meeting resolutions in a moment. But I will go to the district manager and her report. Oh, there's a hand raised. I thought I saw a hand raised. No? Okay, go ahead, Susan. You can go to the report.
Okay, thank you. First thing I wanted to report on is May and I had a Zoom meeting today with some people from the state on the downtown revitalization plan, which is the money that Chinatown is getting. I've had questions about it. The community board is not formally involved in any way. Just want to back up. I've been trying since the beginning of March to get this meeting. It was, I think, going back and forth between the state and the borough president's office on who is going to meet with community boards. The community board is not involved formally in any way. There are public meetings. I'll report on this at the full board to alert people to the meetings and the website. But it may be, maybe at the full board, you might want to give a rundown of how they work. We could talk about that. I think everyone knows that one of the shelters for 47 Madison is not going forward. I did call Catholic Charities. They were the provider to get it straight from them what was really happening, because sometimes, you know, it could be that they're having financial plans or, you know, something fell through. But in this case, it was not Catholic Charities at all, strictly Department of Homeless Services. Catholic Charities got a call, didn't even go to the right people, and it was not a very formal call, but they got a message it was not going forward. One thing that happens is, you know, they spent a good year and a lot of money, and, you know, I think there are providers that will no longer work with homeless services because they can't trust the process. And one of the concerns is that we're going to lose the better providers and end up with some of those who are not so good. They were very appreciative that I had called to follow up, and they did mention that Community Board 3's voice was very important, very appreciative, and they said very important to represent many people and their concerns. District needs statement. I meant to contact everybody and I haven't been able to about the committees wanting to put it on the agenda. One of the things you could do is have your members ahead of time go through and see, you know, what they think needs to be updated. And particularly if people could just highlight figures or statistics that need to be updated. We will also be going over and looking at the statistics, but I just feel more comfortable having two eyes to make eyes on this to make sure we don't miss anything. So I'll maybe you have the draft agenda, but I'll be in touch with those of you who don't have district needs on to see whether you want to start the discussion and have your members, you know, at least read it beforehand. And I do want to stress the importance. A lot of people use our district needs statement when they're making up needs assessments. They are going to our district needs statement. Also, a group representing the full city district managers did meet with city planning about 2 weeks ago, and we particularly met about the district needs statement and voiced that we want to own it more. The last administration had taken some of it out of our hands. We voiced that we want to take it back and own it more. They were very willing to work with us, had some good ideas. I will continue to meet with us. And I think they're looking at it more broadly. I think it is being used more broadly. I want to ask all the committee chairs with public members, please look and see if you want all your public members invited back. We will be sending invites. We are waiting till the new members were appointed. We will now be sending reapplications to all the public members that you would like asked back. If not, we will tell them that there's not an opening on your committee at this time, to thank them. So if you could let me know within the next week, I'd appreciate that. We are in process of updating the website with new members. I think they'll all be on the list by the end of tomorrow. And that's it, unless there's any questions. I guess not.
Oh, Susan, I did have a
Oh, I'm
question.
sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just put myself unmuted. I don't know if someone's going to talk about it later, but you had meant this was about translation and interpretation at community
Right.
board meetings. We received requests, and you had said something before about how district managers were working on something that would make it more systematic.
Well, we've put it so that
Maybe I made it up, but I feel like you said something about it in a
Well,
previous meeting.
it's close enough.
Okay.
So thank you for bringing that up. It's a huge need. There are not resources for us to have language translation. The city has us set up for American Sign Language. When we get a request, which we do occasionally for sign language, we go to OMB. They have a system of the vendor paying them, we schedule it, and then they invoice the vendor and pay the vendor, and it's set up, and it does not come out of our budget. It comes out of the city budget. We have had translations at some meetings, for instance, the one we hosted for homeless services. In that time, the agency took care of all the translation. We've had that at some land use meetings in the past. However, for a regular committee meeting like yours, it was requested for yours this month. And I emailed 3 agencies. I emailed the mayor's office, I emailed Civic Engagement Commission, and I'm not sure if I don't remember if it was Immigrant Services. Not one person.
No, I think it was
pitched me.
CAU. I think it was the mayor's
See-
office and CA because they're different, right?
To-
But
well,
later
no,
I suggest, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was 2 different sections of the mayor's office. I never got an answer, not even an answer from anyone. And then I'm trying again, I just don't get a response. This is a problem in some boards throughout the city. I believe in the needs assessment that we made up for the city district needs for operations, that's in there. And we want to work with the Civic Engagement Commission, which should be dealing with those kinds of things. So we're continuing, it's not something that it's like going to happen in 3 weeks, but we are working on it. It is a need. And I think we should somehow, maybe in the introductory section of our district needs statement, include it in there.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I mean, those who came to our committee, those who speak usually manage to make themselves understood, but whether they understood what was going on in the meeting, I don't. So this is where the translation interpretation is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And I had suggested contacting Moya, Immigrant Affairs also, because that's their whole thing, language access. So.
Yeah. Also right now, I'm going to say there's one thing I forgot from my report that I'll tell everyone. It's not only an incredibly busy time, but we're also missing a staff person in the office. So not everything gets done exactly, I have to prioritize, and I have not contacted the other office. The one other thing I did forget from my report is I've been working with a group that formed in the East Village, which is also known as Little Ukraine, to help resettle some families that are refugees from Ukraine. The owner of Velselka, Tom, along with one of the local landlords, has been collecting apartments, and they're getting them at 50% rate. They're also raising money to be able to pay for the apartments and other expenses. And they're trying to resettle families. They're hoping to get up to 15 families resettled here. We have 1 already moved in, 2 more in the beginning of June, and hopefully it'll keep going. I am trying to work with providers to get benefits and services, which is proving, because of the bureaucracy, to be just incredibly bureaucratic. People are very, very willing to help, but what you have to go through to be able to get benefits is just incredible. Mount Sinai Beth Israel's offered to help, which would help greatly, with medical services. They've contacted the State Department of Health, which hopefully will be helpful for medical insurance. And Henry Street Settlement has a case manager working with us. So people are being really great, but it's very important. So I just wanted to let people know about it. Okay, so if no more questions, Paul, I'm done.
All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Susan. Okay, so just a couple of things before we talk about the Zoom reso. I want to explain a little bit about this hybrid process and before we open up this discussion. There's a couple of things at play. When we go into when June 9th is when the law kicks in. So we have to make a decision as executive committee tonight, then as a full board on Tuesday night. And we have to have a public hearing as well, which would happen before full board on Tuesday night. We do have a sign-up sheet on the website, similar to the public speaker form, for public comment on the state of open meetings and community board meetings in our case, right? Let me just say a couple things about that. We'll take those comments and hear it from Tuesday night, and if we have to incorporate anything specific into the reso that we're going to look at tonight, then we will. There's two big things at play. If we don't pass a reso at all, we are back to fully face-to-face meetings after June 9th. I know the executive order goes through June 14th, but if we don't pass something, there's a potential that we may have to come back face-to-face. There was some ambiguity around that. I'm still trying to get clarity on that on the extension of the executive order, because we're dealing with two different types of executive orders. We're dealing with the state executive order and the city executive order, and the borough president's office usually doesn't get the information till like a day before. That we've been getting it, all of our information about whether we're going to continue to be on Zoom right under the gun, right? Sometimes we schedule the meetings to be face-to-face, and then all of a sudden, about a week or a couple of days before the meeting happens, we get notification that you can still be on Zoom. So there's that. So the reso has to get through in order for us to have the hybrid option. Two, if we do go to a hybrid option, there's a good chance we're going to run out of funding for it. The one thing I did ask at Borough Board this morning was, great, if we are able to go hybrid for the meetings, well, it's going to run dry pretty quick. So, there's something of that sort that, there's a potential that we may not be able to function as a hybrid meeting for that long. Definitely, at least in June. Susan, if you have something else about that, but I know there are issues, with
So
funding for it. Go ahead.
For full board, so splitting up committee and full board.
Mhm.
For full board to go like at PS20, it costs $500 to have someone come in and do that for us. We have no money to do that except June. And the reason we have it for June is because our ADM quit and we have money from his salary that we're not spending on his salary. So that's for June. After that, we do not have funding to pay $500 a month. If we have a small meeting in the office, we can have hybrid with the equipment in the office. But we have to be careful of very few people because you can't have it be members only and not have the public. That's according to open meeting law. And if we have it in various other places, which we will be doing, they will be in person, they won't be hybrid.
Go ahead, Trevor.
I'm just wondering if we do it that way, will there be some concern about not doing all of the meetings hybrid?
No, everybody's going
Because-
to do that.
You mean everyone's going to have some meetings that are hybrid and some meetings that are not?
Absolutely, absolutely. Everyone's in the same spot. But Jackie, I think before we even talk about that, I think it would be good to understand the criteria, because members are not going to have a choice about whether to be there or not. They're going to, I think it's important for members to know that they're going to have to be at the in-person meeting with, a few exceptions.
I'm sorry, can you say that again, Susan? How is that just related to my committee?
To any committee.
Right,
So
any
what I'm
committee.
I think she
asking
thought
Paul
I
to
was
do is to go.
Oh, so you meant Trevor, I'm sorry, okay. Oh, Paul, okay.
What I'm asking Jackie to do, I think it might be useful to go over the criteria of who has to be at the meeting before we start talking about hybrid, because I'm afraid members will think they have the option of not being there.
Okay, I think you meant me, not Jackie.
Did I say?
Trevor, you
Jackie?
still,
You keep
Oh, I'm
saying
sorry.
Jackie.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry.
Thank you for thinking about me all the time.
It's because I saw your face and that's why I said.
No, I
Trevor, you
think-
still have your hand up, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Susan answered it, because I was thinking of a concern from a person who says, well, I wanted to attend the meeting and this one was hybrid and this one was not. Who made that decision to make this hybrid and didn't make that decision? But you said that's what everyone's doing.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of landmines here. And like I said, at Borough Board this morning, there was more questions than there were answers. And there were answers. I think that, Dell was on today and she was trying to explain everything to us as best she could. I know at District Service, it was the topic about the future of all of this. And I did sit down with Susan about 2 weeks ago to try to hammer out, and it'll be in the resolution. I can pull up the resolution now if you'd like. But I want to just kind of, before we pull up the resolution, I kind of just want to get more of a feel for what everyone is thinking first, in terms of like, how do you feel about going to a hybrid model? If we do go to a hybrid model, and whether or not it's something you want to do, because this doesn't have to, if we don't pass anything, then it's just straight up face to face, no matter what, at the end of the day. And I can answer more questions now and then pull up the resolution as to what determines who gets to come, who doesn't. There's a lot of things I've put in there that we have to figure out, leaves of absence, stuff like that, because people are having health issues and have legit reasons to not come. There's going to be a lot of different things to go on. I see David and then I see Tariq. Go ahead, David.
So I think I understand our options now. On June 9th, the change is coming. And after that date, regardless, community board members have to meet in person for every meeting. Believe it.
Unless there's an emergency, which there is right now,
Okay.
till the 14th.
Okay. But the new normal then, I guess, after June 9th would be all committee members must be at every meeting in person.
Except for a few exceptions.
You're
Such
so
as me?
So we'll pull up the resolution in a
Okay.
second, because the parameters are there.
Okay.
It's in the email that was sent out by Susan in the exec materials. It's on the second page of the agenda, so you could start if you want to just start clicking through and reading through it. There are you have to give a reason as to why you're going to be remote, why
Okay.
you're going to be on Zoom. You have to let me know ahead of time, or your committee chair ahead of time, as to why you're going to be remote, because we have to have quorum in
understand.
person.
That's
We
a
have to have
detail.
quorum in,
But I'm
yeah, we
trying
have to
think
have
the whole-
quorum in person, no matter what. We have to have quorum in person. So if it's 50, it's
Okay.
26, right? So there's got to be 26 people on site for full board.
Okay, got it. So then, but what we have to make a decision about is whether we are going to authorize ourselves to allow the public to attend virtually. And of course, we understand that we don't have to do that, but when we do a meeting, we have to find a way to fund it, unless it's a small one that we can have the public members in the office. No?
I don't think funding's an issue. We have funding to do it in June. Unless someone does something very special to give us money, right now there is not funding to do it. The hybrid meetings will be those after the June, it'll be those in the office. Because we have the
It sounds like
equipment.
there is a funding issue. So what I was trying to say is like, we don't have funding to just go whole hog and have all meetings be hybrid. We'll have to.
Are you talking about from the full board
choose
perspective?
that.
You're talking about full board meetings in
I'm
itself?
talking about every single meeting. We have to authorize ourselves for any meetings to be able to be going hybrid.
I
But
think
we're
it's,
going to have a challenge doing that because
you should, I would suggest not think about funding at all. This will be the situation. After, except for the exception of one meeting, the situation will be, if it's a small meeting in the office, it'll be hybrid. Otherwise, it will not be unless some unusual thing happens. Like, someone decides to give us, I mean, I did have one
So to just
elected.
to simplify our choices, I think I'm correct. We have to decide whether we're going to allow ourselves to authorize meetings, which we'll have to pick and choose in some way to be hybrid for the public and some segment of members, whatever uses.
Right.
Okay, I got it.
Yes, we have to authorize that, bottom line. Go ahead, Tariq.
What is the, I know I see the FY22 budget, but what is the budget for if we were to do hybrid moving forward? What is that budget?
There is no budget to do hybrid.
There's no specific budget for it.
There isn't money to do hybrid, period.
So, but you said, Susan, in June, it would cost about 500 to do
It will
that?
cost exactly 500. And the reason we have that 500 is because a staff person quit. So we're using his salary.
Right. And so if that was a decision made, would it be about 500 for full board meetings to go hybrid?
If we had the
Okay.
money, but there is no money to make a decision about.
Right. Well, that's something that I think then a board, things that we possibly could step in and support and speak to people to see if that's something they would support to help fund.
So that is, you can do that. It is very, very, we've done this in the past. You can't just go out and fundraise because you're a government agency. And, we have gone with the law department and we have a lot of letters about what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. And that's something in the future. I mean, it's very complicated. You want to do it, should be a separate meeting of the Friends of Community Board 3, which maybe David can explain later. But yes, that is something that can be done. It's not been successful in the past, unfortunately, but it can be done. I would hope that, an elected official or the city might give us money. I think that probably came up all, but it hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
David, you had your hand up and then Trevor? No, David?
Quick question, Paul, just so I know.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, David, the Friends, that's what we talked about in bylaws? The friend
Yes.
thing, got it.
Just
Go ahead,
a
Trevor.
quick question on a real situation. I have a Parks member who doesn't want to meet in person and can probably get a note saying that they can't meet because of COVID restrictions or because they're uncomfortable in a closed environment. I'm looking at the CB3's procedures in criteria. That person says, look, I can't meet. So why can't I be offered the hybrid option? Does this cover that, or we're not going to address that particular issue?
So
Yeah, I'm gonna tackle that one. So if it's a particular member that can demonstrate that there's specific issues resulting whatever, that they can't be in the closed space or public space. That I will definitely speak to that member about, ask them, what's the, if it's something they can't do at all ever, that's a bigger conversation. I will chew it up in monthly increments. I will consider leaves of absence. And if there's a medical reason stating, I would probably give them the hybrid option, most
Well,
likely.
That's my point, because the person can get a doctor's note, say, look, and that doctor's note will extend in perpetuity, theoretically, because they're always going to be vulnerable. Susan, I'll let you, Susan, go ahead.
Okay. So it has to, not just anyone getting a doctor's note, it has to be significant. For instance, if they have an immune problem or something like that, they have to give the reason, and the reason has to go in the minutes, which you'll probably see in the resolution. So it's a pretty set criteria. For instance, you can't say like everybody over 55 is more vulnerable, and therefore they can not come. It has to be something significant.
No, I understand. I've read it. I'm just saying I can foresee a situation where someone brings in a doctor's note saying that they're vulnerable and they will continue to be vulnerable, and that they want the hybrid option, not just for full board.
They have to say why they're vulnerable.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the whole point.
So if somebody, somebody is going through chemotherapy, yes, absolutely. They would, that's a very significant thing. If it's just a broad category, like I'm saying, everyone over 55.
Well, Susan, I got that. I'm talking about a particular individual who would qualify, who would have a doctor's note, and it would be, let's say they have cancer and they have an immunodisease, and they record it, and now let's look at how it works. That person is going to say, I want remote for my committee meetings, maybe my exec meetings, and maybe my full board meetings, based on the way this is worded.
Right, they wouldn't come to any meetings in person.
Understood. So how do we get remote for those committee meetings going forward?
If it's not hybrid, we can't. It's
It may
only
have-
an
it's-
option.
The only other option I could probably think about is a leave of absence in the immediate.
We're not allowed to have that, remember?
But if we
If it's
pass
some-
this resolution, we will be saying that we are giving that option to go remote.
No, we're not. We're saying we're doing it for hybrid meetings.
I'm sorry, for hybrid meetings, but we're
Right.
offering that option for hybrid.
When we
meetings.
have hybrid meetings.
Okay.
No
Yeah,
board in the city is going to have all hybrid meetings. No. not-
CB1 will, they're going to do it.
Yes, you're right. They are going to do that, and I think not allow the public in, actually, because they have a tiny room. They're probably going to be the only board in the city that's going to do that.
All right, Michelle and then David.
Thanks. Is there, so the resolution is saying that we can only give members the option to be remote if it's a hybrid meeting, right? There's no like option to do a phone call or something?
No phone calls in any circumstances whatsoever.
Okay. Do we have to have someone there to administer the meeting and pay them $500?
No, it's just, I don't know any other way to do it. How would you get all the equipment, buy
Well,
the equipment and all that
But
stuff?
we have it at the board office.
Not for PS20.
Oh, sorry. I mean, yes, no, I know, not for a full board meeting, but I'm saying we could potentially do what CB1 is doing.
If you have every meeting in the office, yes.
Right. That's what I'm just saying, that's an
Yeah.
option, right? Like to have every meeting in the office, say only X number of public or no public are allowed, and they all have.
You're not allowed to say no public.
Well, you just said that's what CB1's doing. I thought.
That's basically what they're doing, but it's illegal. It's against the open meeting law. I think they'll have to allow a few people in. So you can do that. You can decide to do that, but I would suggest for some committees that it would be really problematic to have them. I don't know if CB1 is having, I suspect what CB1 is doing is having, having conference rooms available because they're in the municipal building.
Right.
And I think they're doing it in the borough president's office. I don't think they're doing it in their office. Do you know, Trevor, is that true?
In their office, they have this weird setup with, because they use Teams, they don't use.
They do, but they also had their regular meetings in the borough president's conference room, not in that little office.
Yeah, I really haven't paid attention, but they don't get that many people because we haven't officially said we're going hybrid.
So you can work out, if you pass the resolution, you could work out how you want to do all those things. I believe CB1 is actually using the borough president's conference room, but you can definitely have some meetings hybrid, and you can work out how to do that.
Or no meetings hybrid.
Or no meetings hybrid.
David, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure I'm in favor of allowing us to do hybrid meetings. It is going to make it, this hypothetical individual would be in trouble because they're going to be forced to miss 50% of their meetings. If their primary committee can never have a hybrid meeting, they'll be forced to miss 50% of their meetings, because I presume it would only be authorized, I mean, they'd be present only at the full board meetings through the hybrid mechanism. Now, we can't have we can't really do large meetings in the board office. Like, for example, we did an SLA, we did it hybrid, and we allowed public to come in, and the experience was way too much of the public showed up, and we had to cycle them in waves. And this was back when COVID was still a little scary, at least to me. It's just not going to be feasible to have anything but, let's say, Human Resources Committee be hybrid out of the office. I'm not arguing that we shouldn't allow ourselves to go hybrid, but I'm saying we have to be realistic that actually very few committees are going to be able to use the office.
So we've discussed this a lot. We've done a lot of discussions, and what the suggestion is, which I think is a good one, you have to have some public, and you have to make best faith efforts, which is important wording. So what we can do is say, and actually put it on the agenda, capacity is limited. Only a certain number of public will be allowed, and everybody else will have to watch it. Here's the link for everybody else. And, we could possibly even have people register to appear in person. And that way, for the SLA, I think it would be very doable, because you could have the people that want to testify do it from home, and, and have maybe just applicants, at the meetings, if even them. You can't do that for all meetings, because some meetings you're just going to want a lot of people are going to want to be there. But for some meetings, you can just limit it, and I think be able to successfully do that.
Okay, so if I can follow up, that is interesting. It was challenging running that hybrid meeting, but if we got good at it, it does open up access to a lot of people who really can't afford,
Right.
time-wise perhaps, to be present at a meeting that starts at 6:30 in the evening and goes until 9:30. So it does open up access. They're hard to manage. That is interesting. If we could do something like, 10, 20, whatever members of the public.
And,
Yeah,
it'd probably be closer to 10.
We did talk about, because we have the equipment in the office for committee meetings, that we would have to cap the amount of public, but everybody else will have a link. Bottom line is, you still have to have quorum, whether it's full board or committee, face to face. So if there's 2 members of a 6-member committee on site, there's no meeting.
Another advantage to having hybrid meeting is, I think you can sometimes get presenters that you wouldn't get otherwise. I think, a lot of presenters have become accustomed to only appearing remotely. And, I think it's just easier to have people you want to appear, be able to present.
All right. If anybody wants to give me a motion to pull up the resolution, I have no problem doing so.
Oh, I'll make a motion. I'll
Second,
make a motion for you to pull up the resolution and show it to us.
second,
You're moving to pass it is what you're doing.
Pass the resolution.
Can everyone see that?
Open debate on it. So I meant.
Can't see the top.
Yeah, I know. Give me a second.
And I just want to say before we start, there's some numbering errors in there. When we get to them, I'll point them out. It's just changing numbers to letters.
Okay, if you want me to read through it, I can. I'll go through it. A lot of this is taken from the law that was passed for our purposes, and some of the discussions we've had in the office about how we would execute everything, and then we can make changes. All right.
If I could just say, Paul, most of the wording in here is taken directly off Adele Bartlett's memo on what we have to do.
So whereas New York State Open Meeting Law, Chapter 56, well, I'll go through that. It was effective June 9th and will sunset July 2024. So this only goes to July 2024. Whereas this amended law authorizes any public body to meet and take such action authorized by law without permitting public in-person access to meetings, and authorize such meetings to be held remotely by conference call or similar service, provided that the public has the ability to view or listen to such proceeding, that such meetings are recorded and later transcribed. And whereas CB3 has drafted the following procedures to comply with the law. Procedures will apply to committees and task force, as well as the full board. Meetings will be held with some members attending remotely, but a quorum of the board members will be present at one or more specific in-person locations. These locations will provide for attendance by the public. 3, the circumstances or specific circumstances or conditions under which members will be permitted to participate from remote locations are as follows. I'm not going to go 1, 2, 3. It will end up being A, B, C. Circumstances should qualify. Circumstances should qualify as extraordinary. 2, unexpected disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, unexpected work travel will permit a member to attend remotely. 3, medical condition creating vulnerability to COVID, verified with a note from a doctor. All right, those are the 3 conditions. 4, meeting procedures for remote attendance requires the following criteria. When a member attends virtually, the name and specific reasons for virtual attendance will be noted in the board minutes. Any members participating virtually cannot be counted toward quorum. Excuse me. Members appearing virtually must at all times be able to be heard, seen, and identified. In other words, they must continually be visible on video with identification. The public will be able to attend remotely and participate in the public session as those members of the public attending in person. Meetings where members are participating virtually will utilize technology to permit access by members of the public with disabilities consistent with the 1990 Americans with Disabilities Act as amended and corresponding guidelines. Notices of meetings where there will be virtual participation by board members set forth that fact, and in addition to listing the physical locations where the public can attend, provide information as to how the public can participate virtually. The notice should also state where members of the public can locate documents relevant to the matters to be considered at the meeting. Minutes of meetings where there was virtual participation must be posted within the time set forth in section 106 of the POL, 2 weeks, and that a transcript of the meeting be available on request. In addition to regular attendance information, the minutes must identify which members of the board participated virtually and set forth the reason justifying such attendance. Whereas the in-person attendance requirements will not apply during a declared disaster emergency by the state or the city if the board determines that the circumstances necessitating the emergency declaration would affect or impair the ability of the board to hold an in-person meeting, provided that the board passes a resolution finding that the disaster in question impedes its ability. And whereas CB3 has held a public hearing, which will be held before our meeting on Tuesday night, May 24th, 2022, is a little while ago,
Yeah,
regarding the amended open meetings. So therefore be it resolved that CB3 Manhattan will institute open meeting amended procedures provided by the New York State Open Meetings Law, Chapter 56 of Laws of 2022, as set forth in the resolution to permit modified hybrid meetings. Let's go with the amendments, everyone. I'll go back up top. Go ahead, David.
Second paragraph where there's no in-person stuff, that something is incorrect there. Without permitting in public, in-person access to meetings. There's the phrase isn't correct. I'm not sure what it really meant there. By law, without permitting in public, in-person access to meetings.
how does it start?
Whereas this amended law authorizes any public body to meet, take such action authorized by law without permitting in public, in-person access to meetings. Without
That's exactly,
requiring.
that's the lawyer's words, because I'm looking at
Is it?
CB1 also.
Gosh,
Authorized by law without permitting in public, in person. So what they're saying, in public, in person, this is the lawyer's words, access to meetings and authorize such meetings. That's Adele Bartlett's words for us.
okay. Unfortunately, it has no meaning that I can discern. Or it's contradictory or something, I don't know. But okay, if we can't deal with it, or if we could come up with a human phrase that we think what this means is that, well, and take such actions authorized by law, I mean, at meetings that are hybrid. I mean, I don't know.
I'm very leery to change the legal wording given to all the community boards.
Perhaps there's a missing dash in there. Is it in dash public dash in dash person? Okay, if we could get some better, some correct words, I believe they're incorrect, but you know what? It's not the first time that I thought lawyers were just flat out incorrect.
We could go back to Adele before the full board and ask if we could be amended with something that clarifies it.
Yeah, maybe in parentheses, hybrid meetings, if that is what this means. Okay, a little bit low. There's the thing about notice. I've got 4 of them. Should I be raising my hand for all, or should I just plow through? They weren't all big.
Plow through them, David.
Okay, there's in the bit about notice, the notice of meeting shall such and such. It's a little.
Where am I looking? Where am I looking?
Word notice. So the notice of meetings, we're requiring ourselves to say certain things about the notice of meetings. Search for the word notice.
Stop me if somebody sees it. Because
You mean letter E?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. If you can do a Control F search, it's the only word notice in there, I think.
Let's
It's
go
supposed to
down,
be.
letter E, right? Well, I'm,
is there
It's in
letter E?
F.
There is
oh, I'm
no-
sorry, I'm looking at the one that was sent.
Oh, sorry.
It,
I
there,
renumbered
there, it went
Sorry,
down.
I
It was
renumbered
six.
Oh, Paul, I think you're not using the one I sent.
It's
Okay.
number 6,
Yeah,
Which
there
is
it
the
is.
one, this
You just
one?
scrolled on.
notice of meetings where there will be virtual.
I'm using the one that was sent this afternoon.
No,
I have
then-
it. as
That
the
was
no-
it. This was
Notice.
attached to the,
Okay, then
To
it should be
the-
the same one. I don't know why. Anyway,
Okay, look
everything
at
else
the,
should be the same.
Yes, so
All the
if you're
words
under-
should be the same.
It's number 6. So under
okay,
4.
we
where
are
it
there.
says
We're
number-
I see
looking
it,
at
I
it.
got it,
Hello,
I got
okay.
it, I got it.
The word
Go.
set forth that fact. Should that be phrased like maybe should state that fact?
Say what? Say it again.
Notices of meetings where there will be virtual participation by board members, set forth that fact. Is that should state that fact? Is that would be,
I'm comparing it to the other boards to see if they had different, to be honest, see if they have
Notices of
different.
meetings.
Notices of meetings where there'll be virtual participation by board members, set forth that fact, and in
all right,
addition. this is
so
a
it's
law-
some bullshit lawyer thing. Okay, well, maybe someone can figure out that
David?
that means that we shall state that fact in the notices. I believe that's what the intent of this is. So if we're constrained by a lawyer having written it, so be it. Like I said, after the revolution, just kidding. My husband's a lawyer. Minutes, the next paragraph down, where this vote
Okay.
must be posted within the set time set forth in, 2 weeks is in parentheses after a comma. I believe it should go before. Maybe the lawyers differ on that.
I'm not going to argue about punctuation.
So where you want me to put the comma?
After the parenthesized 2 weeks. Great. And the last one I've done forgot. It was a little bit further down. The disaster thing. During it declare. So does that mean that we have to have a meeting to declare that the disaster is going to affect our ability to have a meeting?
So that's the one that I wanted to suggest a change from, Paul, do you want me to introduce it from the one house CB1 change?
Yeah, there was so a lot of the chairs shared their resolutions that they either passed in the past day or so or are about to share tonight. So was it Kyle from CB6?
No, well, this is CB1 that. I-
CB1, Tammy's. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
introduce.
what it is what this says actually is true. That's one of the ways that you can declare it. But what CB1 did is they said any time that an emergency is declared, our board says that there is an emergency. So the exact wording is, be it further resolved that this board finds that where the state or local government issues a finding of state of emergency, that such condition giving rise to that declaration would impair and affect the board from holding fully in-person meetings. So that allows us, instead of having a meeting, it allows us to say, anytime the city or state declares an emergency, we find that it will impair and affect our board. So I would suggest that we change that number 5 to what I just read.
But was that their resolve clause or was that a whereas clause?
It's a be it further reason. You can, instead of making it a whereas, or you can keep it as a whereas too, and just say whereas, and I think it actually works better, the way their wording works better is a be it further resolved.
Susan,
So I would
can you
take-
drop
I
that
would-
in the chat.
I would take this whole thing out and make it be it further resolved.
For the committee.
I only have it in paper, Larissa, I can't put it in the chat. But it's
So,
true.
yeah, this was the question that came up today at Borough Board because the state extended everything to June 4th, the executive order to June 14th. So we actually have to put this clause in stating, well, it impairs us, so we're going to be meeting remotely until the 14th, right? And then after that, whatever happens, happens. So we have to put this in. And I think that was a good catch by CB1 earlier today.
Well, yeah, they just changed it, and did it in much more
Yeah.
efficient manner.
Well, they're voting on it tonight, so it's just like we are. I know I have it in my email. I may come back to it. I gotta find it. Larissa, your computer can't share screen, right? Right now?
No, I have very limited memory of mine, unfortunately. I have a recording for this, so I can take that language, Susan, from that and add it right after, before and I'll send it over tonight.
I could actually send it to you. I can
Okay.
find it later and send it to you.
Super, and I'll just drop it in.
So that means we would be taking out this set where it says 5, we would be taking out this section.
So I'm just gonna highlight it for right now. If anybody disagree. Just a second. Knowing we have to make that change. Does anybody disagree with that from the committee that we have to put this in?
Paul, I just have a quick question for Susan. When we're taking this out, are you suggesting that we move it?
It's going to
the
be
new-
a further
the new
result.
wording, we would
Yeah,
move
the new
it down
wording
below
piece.
6?
It's going to
Yeah.
go, it's going to go right here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There, okay, great.
We can
Thank
work on
you.
it after. I'm just highlighting it for now, knowing I'm going to move it. I can't see whose hands are up. Just give me a second. I saw Trevor, Herman, May in that order. Trevor.
Just a quick question. Do we normally post our minutes 2 weeks after meeting?
Nope. Well, yes and no. We don't for committee minutes. We do for full board minutes, and we've been audited, and it's the resolutions that we post are accepted as minutes.
Okay.
Herman and then May.
Okay, I'm speaking towards number 4.1. I think it's, or A, whatever it will be changed to.
About this one, when a member attends virtually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe 2 or 3. I mean, the thing about it is that, you know, people have their illness and their immune compromised. But they're willing to participate in all the process of public meetings and stuff like that. This only allows, as far as I'm concerned, maybe I'm wrong, is that if somebody doesn't want to definitely say in a public meeting that is recorded that they have cancer or dementia or something like that to be publicly done, what's the option? Besides taking the leave, it's probably
No.
just simply resign, right?
No one says it has to be said in the meeting. It only has to be in the minutes.
So,
But somebody's going to read it.
so thank you for the question, because we actually did think about this, you know, with the doctor note and according to this guy right here, number 3, medical condition with note from doctor. I'll know about that. But when it comes to the minutes and stuff like that, we'll just put medical. We're not going to put something specific, you know, or something of that sort. It would be general for the minutes, like medical. Boom. Why are they virtual? Medical. Something like that. Does that answer your question, Herman?
Well, unless it's going to say that, you know, say, okay, Herman Hewitt stated that there is medical condition is verified, there's immune compromised to the COVID, stuff like that, without saying, I know it won't change all of this, but I know eventually sometimes you go to Mount Sinai, they have an asterisk that you'd have to go back into a book to read. But if it's specifically stated in the minutes or somewhere there where it's subject to FOIL, you know?
You don't have to foil minutes. Anybody can have the minutes.
Right, okay, that's even stuff, so. That's what I'm concerned with, because most people under no condition, they want to have it done except.
So Paul, can I ask you, because I didn't see that part of the meeting. Is this something that the board's decided they're going to do, or is it something that Adele checked with open meeting law?
I think it's something they'll check with probably open meeting law, but I know, you know, you and I had this discussion about, you know, how we would word it in the minutes,
Right.
in terms of, you know, unexpected disability or illness or, you know,
Yes.
caregiving responsibilities. Like I have nobody pick up my kids or something like that, and I can't go to the meeting. we make an exception tonight or something like that. Unexpected work issues. I know we have quite a few board members who travel to other cities and states and whatnot, and there's that issue. We would put something of that sort in the minutes. This is why this person's attending virtually. If it's a medical reason, unexpected disability, broke your leg, something like that, can't make it, it would be
Yeah.
classified under medical. You know,
I don't think the medical has to be unexpected, right?
right.
Yeah,
So
I understand because there's people in this world that have submitted medical papers and they're in Florida on their boat or stuff.
So-
I mean, I'm used to
I
that
hear
for
you.
years as having employees, do that kind of stuff. But is the specificity of the illness? It says examples provided in the law include disability, illness. Okay,
Oh, I
if
see.
it says
unexpected
disability, illness, but disability based on the loss of two
That-
legs or something, that's what I'm concerned about.
So I think that line actually did, the examples, that one example did not come from the law. That one example was us,
putting it together.
repeating. And
Got it.
maybe, so I think the disability shouldn't be unexpected. It could be disability, the caregiving responsibilities was unexpected. So the example Adele gave is, if you have a childcare issue, ordinarily if you're attending in-person meetings, you have to have childcare. So childcare is not a reason to not be there. However, if you have childcare worked out and unexpectedly it falls through and you can't come to that one meeting, then you could meet remotely because it's an unexpected significant issue. So Paul, or Larissa, maybe the unexpected should go in front of caregiving responsibilities, because that was the
Yeah.
example Adele
Well, I
used.
thought it should it not go in front of illness? I would think disability, comma, unexpected illness, comma, caregiver responsibilities.
Well, do you ever
No?
have an expected?
So does anybody have specific language that they would like to offer on this line?
Yeah, I'm going to suggest that you take one word and move it. You take unexpected and move that in front of caregiving. And I think that was my mistake.
I was gonna ask if these were lawyer words. I was gonna suggest we be careful with the lawyer words.
No,
Okay, that's
that
fine.
was me repeating, trying to give an example of what Adele gave an example for. Number one is her word
So I'm going to take unexpected out.
and put it in front of caregiving. That was the very specific example she gave.
Does anybody disagree with that? Anybody have issues with that? That's fine.
See,
Go ahead, Herman.
a lot of this in my head, I'm thinking about based on my own experiences and stuff, is that unexpected, there are people who have long-term illness,
Mhm.
long-term illness. I guess at the beginning it was unexpected, but it's a continuous situation that COVID would compromise, and they know that you can't leave your house, you cannot go into a place where there's more than 5 or 10 people without proper caution or stuff like that. So that's what I'm thinking about. And also I keep coming back to the fact, if somebody has cancer, that's unexpected, but it happens. And so they're dealing with that and they have to be out for a long period of time with that illness, but they do not want it to become a public in the public domain.
So it'll just say medical.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get to.
I hear you, Herman. And I think with every person, it's an individual basis that is a conversation with myself and that person and how to navigate this. This is clearly not something we completely like. This design, but this is what's been given to us, and we have to try to make this work.
I understand.
Yeah, I hear you though. Thank you though. I know, I know. So let me see who else had their hand up. May, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree about the illness. Sometimes it's even like a week, month by month basis, and because you can't predict things. Even when people know they have an illness, they don't know what the course of it is going to be. So, I had two questions. So, what is unexpected work travel? I mean, that must mean there's like a certain time frame. Like when did they know about it? So I have that question, and then So first of all, I have that question.
The unexpected work travel, because I know some of our members work with government agencies and whatnot and get called down to, like, let's say DC on a, like, I have to go to DC or something like that. Like, this is, like, there's no way around it because that's, their job. That would be unexpected work travel. Like, you weren't planning to go to DC that day or that next day or something like that. It would have to be pretty much immediate that this is what's going to happen. Like,
I mean, is there a certain number of
expecting.
days? I mean, when you have to travel work, you have to travel no matter what, even, so, so does unexpected, like, mean a certain number of days notice, or when they got the notice, they had to travel? That's what I mean by unexpected.
No, that's a good question.
Could I just give a
Go ahead.
little bit helpful? If you think of it in terms of if there was only in-person meetings, would their travel be, if they travel all the time, they wouldn't be able to be on the board because they wouldn't be able to make enough meetings. But if it was something extraordinary, and I'm giving this as an interpretation. So what Adele keeps saying is go back to, if everyone had to be an in-person
Right,
meeting,
yeah.
would this allow them to be a regular board member at an in-person meeting or not?
Okay, so this is probably for someone who travels irregularly, because, we have had members who got jobs where they knew extensive travel. I mean, this was when we're all in person, they knew extensive travel was required. So they just left the board, because they were no longer able to attend meetings. So this is sort of the, maybe the occasional work traveler, right? Who doesn't really travel extensively, because one who traveled extensively probably should be off the board.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is more of the unexpected. I really don't do this a lot, but this happens. It does
Okay,
happen.
yeah, it just, right.
It has
Okay,
happened.
Mhm.
So, no,
Yeah,
I understand, man.
Yeah, the unexpected, it sounds.
I don't think we're gonna resolve all those issues tonight anyway.
Okay.
We could do our best.
Oh, okay, so there is, because, anyway, the other question, it's the second paragraph, I think,
Okay.
before all the numbers. Okay, we say that board members have to appear on video and, with their face showing, right?
Yes.
Just a small thing to be, okay, whereas in the third line, it says, such meetings to be held remotely by conference call. Could we change that to video call? If we're not talking about telephone conference calls, right? We're talking about, there's a video component to the call, right?
It also says similar service. I don't know if that's good enough for you, May.
I can tell that these are lazy lawyer words. They always say this in laws, but then when you say later that you got to show your face, that means conference calls don't apply. But lawyers aren't known for consistency in large documents.
Well,
Should be, but they're not.
Or it could be that how that people are redefining conference calls also. I don't know.
Oh, okay, okay.
I know we said we don't really want to take a hatchet to the lawyer words, but
Okay.
if we want to put video conference call, I'm not necessarily objecting to that. If that's something you
Okay.
absolutely want to put in, May, and if there's no
Yeah,
objections.
I'm not I mean, to me, I remembered when conference calls were only telephone calls. So, but if for people, if in these days, if it's redefined as really a video call, and that's fine with
I
me.
don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
So perhaps these are the word, again, these are the words we were given. I don't know.
Okay, okay. I mean, we do say later on that people have to show their face, but
Yes.
just if somebody asks us about inconsistency.
Yeah,
It does say similar service.
Mhm,
I don't know
okay.
if that's
Yeah, that's good enough.
but we'll see.
Yeah, okay.
All right, let me see if anybody else has their hands up. All right. I got nothing. Nobody else has their hands up. I'm gonna stop my share in a second.
Okay, I've sent both Larissa and Paul, I sent you the language for that further be it resolved.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm gonna stop my share. Okay. Okay. So go ahead, David.
It's interesting that while you were sharing, it wasn't showing your face. Is that going to be compatible with the law?
Let's not get carried away. I know there are some boards.
Because my
that
face was going to
actually
keep popping
spend
up, and I didn't
hours.
want to see my face. As much as I love seeing my face, David.
Oh,
This
I'm
one,
sorry. I
just
thought
wanted-
it was the software. Okay, well.
No,
Yeah,
I
there's
shut it.
something there.
I shut it off intentionally.
Is this something we have to make a motion to approve?
Yeah.
It's already been moved. That's why we were looking at it. We did all the amendments. We can just go with
So-
it. There's no more.
We can. Should we do a vote right now on it, or should we wait on the closing? David.
I think we should just do it and dispense with this one.
It's up to you, Paul. Well, I'd like to vote. Actually,
I will.
do we-
I think because of
public
the
comment?
nature of what this
Yeah.
is, I'd like to vote for it right now. So Larissa, please call out the roll call for this resolution to approve hybrid meetings
With the amendments.
with the amendments and the
You never need
you've
to state that. That's always obvious
and
because
the
the main
you've-
motion has been amended.
We're recording it, David.
Well, I just like cut down the words and the back and forth for efficiency. That's all.
All right, go ahead, Larissa.
Okay,
please.
so voting for the reso as amended or as written, current written,
Just
Paul
to
Rangel.
support the reso.
Yes. Actually,
Eric?
sorry. Oh, no,
You vote
Sorry?
against it?
I'm voting against it.
Okay, no, changing that to a no. Okay, Eric Diaz. Is Eric still on?
Oh,
Oh, there you go. Hi.
yes.
For or against the reso?
Voting yes for this resolution to take place.
Tariq Darrell.
Yes.
Yes. Larissa Shaneberg, yes. Laura Luca was absent. Herman Hewitt.
Yes.
Maylee.
Yes.
Jackie Wong.
Jackie?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can hear me?
No, we're gonna hear you.
Yes, we got you now. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Michelle Cooper-Smith.
Yes.
Yes. Trevor Holland
Yes.
and David Crane.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, resolution passes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that wasn't that bad. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you motoring through that. That's not an easy one, and I know it won't be easy on Tuesday night either. Okay, let me go through my list. All right, we'll be up to committee reports right now. First is SLA.
Thanks, Paul. We had 8 applications to consider this month. We passed stipulations for all of them, but they have until tomorrow to sign them. There might be some kerfuffle around one of them, Key Bar moving to Avenue A. I think that there will be some speakers. 208 Avenue A, they're moving to or asking to move to. So, yep, that's it. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Trevor Parks.
Just one resolution for the renovation of the bathroom at Little Flower Playground and a preview of the amphitheater, which will come before the amphitheater cover, which will come before the July committee meeting. So if you're interested in preview or looking at the final design for that amphitheater cover, we'll see it in July. And at football.
Any questions for Trevor? I do have a question. It's how did the webinar work for you at Parks this month? Was it a better meeting? I presume it was because I wasn't getting a ton of emails right after. So
Much
how was
better
it?
email. We got a couple of issues, even one from a board member as to why we had to do that format. I mean, it was explained, but I wish we could do it for every meeting. I think we're going to have to do it for the next meeting too. And by the way, we do not have a Zoom facilitator. I haven't reached out to figure out who that's going to be, but we're going to need one for the June meeting.
Okay.
Can I
Thank you.
ask, Trevor,
Sure.
do you want the district needs on your agenda at all for June or no?
I think it's just going to be too much
Okay,
because it's all ESCR, and with the
Okay.
exception of Steve's new item, but it'll be already all ESCR. So we'll move it to July.
okay.
Thank you, Trevor. Transportation, David, please.
Nothing really to note. And then ask questions. Maybe.
It was just the reso for the street code naming, correct?
Right. The other one that you would have expected, Rezo, it's postponed. They'll come back.
Oh, is it the bus?
The bus level, we didn't act on it, right? We get them to come back.
Okay. Susan, I'm actually gonna ask you because I don't know if economic development submitted their minutes is the one time ECDEV actually.
I did
Matt?
get them
Okay,
now. I got them late, but there was no resolution.
okay, thank you. May, Human Services.
Oh, hi. So we had a many agenda item meeting last month, this past month in May. And we'll have 2 resos. I came to realize that both of them will need some revisions. So Susan, when are you posting it? So that's the one thing I need to know, when I can get that in.
Say that again.
So both resos need some revision. And when's the last day that I can, when are you posting and when should I get it to you?
We post them tomorrow.
You're posting?
By
Oh, you post-
revisions, do you mean revisions before we post the vote sheet, or there are? going
I'm
to
talking
be-
about the vote sheet. I mean, I'm not posting. I'm not talking about. Oh, yeah. When do you need,
The
when
vote
are you
sheet
sending
is
out the vote
always,
sheet?
the vote sheet is always sent out the day after the exec. That's tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
these-
So,
What kind of changes are they?
the homeless sweeps one is fairly straightforward. I came to realize it never talks about which homeless are being swept. And we should just, it's a homeless who live on the street. We just have to put that
So you-
somewhere in the beginning.
May, do
but
you
the
have
other one
language
that's-
prepared for Tuesday?
No, I think she wants
Yeah.
to make track changes to
Yeah, I
send
want
out.
to do some track change. I can either do that or do it on Tuesday. And then the other one needs another, like, whereas. The 47 Madison needs another whereas.
Another whereas.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have language prepared for that for Tuesday
I have it, yeah, we can have it by Tuesday. So
for the meeting? So, okay.
So what we've been doing is when the information is ready, we've been sending it out on the vote sheet, but sending it out as track changes to say, this is what's going to be proposed so that people can read it in advance.
right.
We don't
So-
have,
Yeah, so what happened? But it would be one addition, so if it's just one additional whereas, and then the addition about the homeless, what homeless are being swept, it should be fairly easy to present on that day.
okay, so then we'll send the vote sheet out as it is tomorrow. And I would say by Monday,
Mhm.
if you will send us the track changes so that when we send out the template to the secretary, she'll have that.
Okay.
Jackie,
okay,
you have
yes.
okay. Jackie, you have
and-
your hand up for May or for your report?
For May, but I'll let May finish first.
Okay.
So then the other thing, just to report to everyone, is that, I mean, we're going back to some kind of hybrid or in person, so we'll see our committee members more. But I have found that, my committee members got quieter and quieter as time went along, and they didn't talk at the meetings that much. Even if I asked them, their opinions, good, bad, or otherwise, they would just turn their. So I found it was necessary, and I don't, because we lack this visual cue and in person, the communication cues that we see each other. I called them all before the last meeting. I called all who I expected to be at the meeting. So it was a lot of phone calls. It was 6 or 7 people. I talked to each person for 20 or 30 minutes. So it was a lot of time spent, but I did find it worth it because I just found out a lot of stuff about why people were so quiet. And some of it is just out of wanting to keep the meetings short, or some of it is some people felt a little lost. So, but there was also this reaction that they were glad they got this call and they hope to get more calls. So, so that was a good thing, I thought, that I did.
Okay, great.
And I should have
Thank you,
done it earlier, much earlier.
That's fine. Thank you, May. All right. Jackie, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Paul, thank you, May. I just have a quick question. Do you know the numbers of the homeless people being housed in our district, the total number?
What does that have to do with right now? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just curious, when it comes to, we talk about homeless issue, and I'm just curious, do you have those statistics, DHS published those statistics?
I have statistics. I get numbers, some numbers. I get numbers every month on how many in case management, how many placed in safe havens, how many placed in permanent housing.
Overall, do you have the statistics, how many in our district?
There is none. That there are no statistics on that. Just in general.
Because I was reading the city limit. Looks like in 2019, we have over 1,600 homeless people being housed in our district, and 2/3 of them are non-district clients. I'm just
Okay.
curious, if they have any update.
Can I suggest that we talk about this for the district needs
Sure.
statement?
Sure. Thank you. No more question.
Well, Jackie, stay on because it's your report. Land use.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so thank you, Paul, and thank you, May. Your committee members, you are saying they are more quiet. We actually, our committee members, they always are very opinionated about the land use issues. So we have a little bit different situation at our committee. This month, we did not have a wrestle, but we reviewed the plan to transfer the air rights from Campus Plaza number 1 and 2 to a neighboring lot for development. That plan is to build a 24-story building that with 144 units and mostly market rental with 50 affordable units for a period of 30 years. This is not permanent affordable. The NYCHA will receive about $19.5 million for the air right will be used for the repair of Campus Plaza number 2. So we had 3 groups of stakeholders came to talk about these issues, from the public. And first is the TA of the Campus Plaza, and also the adjacent private co-op on East 14th Street. They spoke about the adverse impact the proposed building would have on their building. And then there's a group of tenants of MLC who just came to complain about the poor management of their landlord, who is the developer of this project. So we discussed all these issues. We listened to all parties, and we decide that we want more information from the developer and also from NYCHA, especially regarding the sales of the air rights, the cost of the air rights, and also affordability, that kind of environmental impact, that kind of issues. And so we decide to do the resol next month. What happened is that their deadline is CPC gonna have a meeting on 27th. So what's gonna happen is that we would vote in the June's resol. The resol will vote in June's land use meeting, and then submitted to executive committee meeting for approval on June 24th. And then we will vote again in the full board. So that's what we have for the land use.
Trevor.
Just a quick comment. It was very odd to see our former assistant district manager speaking for NYCHA. He's doing a good job, but it was a bit odd. That's all.
Who was the district manager?
Assistant Jim.
Jim, who works for NYCHA.
Assistant district manager. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions
it.
for Jackie?
Question?
Nope.
Thank you.
Jackie, sorry, were there any elected officials there?
No.
Okay.
No.
We actually look around. There was no other elected officers present at the meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. There was no landmarks meeting. So I'll go with I'm sorry, I'm just going back and forth to my notes. Any old business? Any new business?
Could I ask a question? Maybe, I don't know if Susan knows it. During this pandemic and going through the Zoom conferences, do we have a better or less attendances of the community in our meetings than prior to in-person meetings? Does anybody know?
I don't know off the top of my head if
I
there's
can-
better attendance, but go ahead, Trevor.
I can tell you from Parks, there's way better attendance. It's not even close.
It's definitely more attendance I've seen at full boards, even some transportation meetings when I was chair then. There's definitely more attendance, especially like if there's a specific item that had to be talked about, that there's definitely better attendance.
But, and I would say that's probably a good number at some point to look up of comparisons, but it will be difficult to count all the people who were at in-person meetings, because you'd have to count all the attendance sheets and then count the attendance. But just from a visual thing, I would say way more people.
I was just wondering.
That's a good question. Thank you. Any other new business or specific questions? Nope. All right. Larissa, you can give us our final vote attendance.
Sure. Okay, final vote, Paul Rango,
Yes.
Eric Diaz,
Yes.
Tariq Darrell,
Yes.
Larissa Shaneberg, yes. Laura Lugo, absent. Herman Hewitt,
Yes.
Mei Lee,
Yes.
Jackie Wong. Jackie?
He said yes.
Oh.
His mic keeps cutting out. I saw him say yes.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry about
Thank
that.
you. Thanks. Michelle Cooper-Smith,
Yes.
Trevor Holland,
Yes.
and David Crane.
Here.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes, is this a yes vote? Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Is that appropriate, David?
I usually just call the adjournment. So have a good night, everyone.
Okay, good night.
Drive home
I'll
safe.
have that reso to you tonight, Susan,
tip your-
with the
tip your
with the
waiters.
corrections.
Thank you.
Good night,
Sure.
everyone.
Good night.
Everybody.